Hello and welcome to LedgerCast. I'm Brian, here with Josh. What's up, Josh?
You got me as I was taking a swig of water. What's up, Brian?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here with you today. It's a very ape-worthy day. Been doing all kinds of crazy stuff, having fun. You can also have fun by trading on Matcha, at least when the fees go down a bit. It's easier, but until then, you can do limit orders and let someone else pay for the gas or use their OTC tab, which makes things a little better as well. Go to ledgerstatus.com/Matcha to check it out and see if you can trade on chain. It's the best way to do it. It curates everything that you need directly on Matcha. It doesn't matter if it's on Sushi or Uniswap or whatever else. Of course, you can also interact directly with Polygon and BSC and more alternate chains soon. Thanks to Matcha for being our partners. ledgerstatus.com/Matcha. Seriously, it's the best way to trade on chain. Josh, ETH is burning.
Yeah, what are we going to talk about first? We got uni stuff, we got bull stuff, we got ETH burning, a bunch of alts popping off. Solana, obviously, people want to hear about that.
Solana hit like 145 overnight. And that poor guy that beefed with Sam, I think Solana was $3 when Sam did that epic tweet. And now like his whole feed is just Solana people like in his mentions, Coin Mamba giving him a hard time, which is wrong. Like it's so mean. Like everybody says stuff and gets into it or whatever else. And but man, the way that one played out. $3 to $145, and like $3 was pretty expensive in my mind for Solana at the time, and geez Louise, it's just beasting.
Yeah, how things have reacted after this W triple bottom, whatever you want to call it, has been interesting. Some things obviously much stronger than others. FTT, Solana, Sam coins doing extremely well.
That last touch was right on the 200-day moving average as well. And like I was looking at those really closely. It gave me some confidence in the market to be in and stay in or whatever else. But the degree to which some stuff just bounced and was just like a no-brainer, follow the technicals, ignore everything else, buy and hold on for dear life, no pullbacks, was incredible. Like, what's that multiple off the bottom there for Solana?
So 5x to the red line. Currently it is this working? Yeah. 500% off the bottom.
Yeah. So 22 to 140. This was the 200-day tap, July 21st. So, I mean, you turn off log, it gets pretty incredible. Because like this move back here was already pretty incredible, right? Like, it's unbelievable.
Well, there's a lot of money floating around. Nobody knows what to do with it. All sorts of stuff is moving. All the ETH people are filthy rich now. And there's just a massive wealth effect and repricing on stuff that has a snowball's chance in hell at actually doing something.
Wait, you mean like the layer ones and stuff, or?
Yeah.
Why don't you think they have a chance of doing something?
I said they have a snowball's chance in hell. That's a small chance.
But why?
Right? What do you mean why?
Like you don't think that stuff will occur on blockchains, like application layer stuff?
I think all of this stuff pricing the way it's pricing is not pricing potential. It's just pricing what people think it should be worth currently based on ETH's success. That's what I think.
Well, there's a lot of activity on ETH, but there's a lot of activity moving to these chains and stuff as well. Like
right, because of ETH.
Because
ETH is expensive.
Yeah. So like, isn't that why they're repricing? Because there's a lot of activity that people obviously want to participate in, and therefore it's moving to these places.
Right. It's spilling over into other stuff. People are saying, "Oh, this is expensive. This doesn't work. Whatever." This is a thing. AVAX is a thing. Matic is a thing. ADA is a thing, right?
Yeah, I think these are very different scales of things, right? Like I think there's a lot of development activity on some of them, and a lot of not, like a lot of unimpressive activity on others. Like ADA smart contracts haven't gone live yet, as an example. Like that one makes no sense, and ADA is the biggest of all of them. So as a as a relative trade, like I'd be happy to stay long Solana relative to ADA as an example. And I think that Avalanche and Matic and Arbitrum are like very good layer 2 scalability alternatives to Ethereum, which obviously people want to use Ethereum. Like you can't even use OpenSea's website right now because it's so crazy with NFT stuff, and that's only with a couple 100,000 users. Now those users have way more money, but what about when all the other users come? You know, like what if the number of people playing around in NFTs doesn't have to be the high dollar NFTs, it can be the cheap NFTs that are related to a game they like. They come on and they can't use it, like all that activity is going to go to layer 2 scalability stuff, right? Like that's got to be pretty bullish for those networks in my mind. What do you think?
Anything that isn't ETH is a hedge against ETH failing. So Solana's success.
Wait. Why is it like a success fail type of?
Because ETH is the de facto winner. They have most of the activity. The problem is they just can't scale right now. So if ETH can scale,
but why would it kill? Why would that kill ETH?
Well, look at ETH's dominance. You can't deny ETH's dominance. Everybody else is just playing catch up at this point, right?
I just think that these can work well together. Like ETH can be the primary settlement layer. I mean, this is a similar argument to like Bitcoin and Lightning. Like if Digibyte is faster than Bitcoin, is that bad for Bitcoin? You know, like I think it's a very similar argument to scaling Bitcoin.
I think all these networks have deep fundamental flaws that people don't understand. Centralization being prime example, which none of this stuff matters right now because it's a bull market, which is another thing I've said before. I want to see all this go through a bear market, like an actual, not just like a 6-month or a 3-month bear market, but like an actual bear market. Because then you figure out which emperor doesn't have any clothes.
Yeah, but while it's trending, why do we care about that? Like if we're in for the trade.
As an analyst who pays attention to fundamentals and technicals, I care about that. As a guy sitting on a deserted island, I could care less, right?
Yeah, but we've talked a lot about being the guy being the guy sitting on a deserted island. Like that's our primary viewpoint, isn't it? Like that's our preferred place to be.
Yeah, and Solana's doing well in that viewpoint through that lens.
Like I'm not saying Solana is like an entry here, but like I said, on the relative trade to like ADA, I think it may be. But when I look at Ethereum, like Ethereum looks incredibly strong from a deserted island price action perspective. Now it might be at a local top, right? Like if it's going to consolidate, you could imagine a trip back to 2,500 and still be like really, really bullish. So that's a large move down and to still be bullish. But if it goes into price exploration here, you just skip all that and you just hop on the train and ride it to 6,000.
Yeah, I'm on your side.
Okay.
But I guess I don't know what the argument is against. My whole thing is everything's doing well right now because people have so much money and everything looks great. Prices are going up. Cool. Awesome. Let it all go to infinity. There's going to be some that do better than others. All the hype is going to be equally important to price because nothing really matters beyond price. So like ADA getting smart contracts, right? To me, like most people that are paying attention are like, no, this is obviously just charlatan snake oil. It doesn't really matter. But to the people who aren't paying attention and don't really care, like they're the ones who are going to move the price anyway. So it doesn't matter, you know? So my whole thing is fundamentals obviously matter more in a bear market than in a bull market. Yeah, just trade this based on technicals. It's going to go wherever it's going to go. But I wouldn't say like, oh, price is doing XYZ. That means the coin has a future. Like, no, that's not how it works.
You don't think blockchain-based applications have a future on especially EVM compatible stuff like Ethereum layer 2 sidechain, whatever you want to call it, something that's more scalable than ETH layer 1?
I think everything has a potential for a future. Is it worth the price it's worth? Probably not. But it isn't about that right now. Everything that's doing well is doing well off the back of ETH doing it first, like ICOs, DEXs, NFTs. It's all of this. We talked about this a million times. It's all the same stuff over and over and over and over again. Nobody's really innovating anything.
What do you mean?
Stable coins. Stable coins is another example. Like everybody's trying to get USDC or Tether on their chain to just give it like an additional use case beyond pure speculation.
So you don't think there's any innovation happening on like smart contract layers?
As far as what stuff that ETH hasn't done already or isn't doing already?
Well, there's some stuff that you can't do on ETH. Like auto compounding is a good example. I stake curve, like wrapped curve via convex. So like convex curve is wrapped curve. So I end up earning the rewards of V curve, which is like the 4-year vested curve. Ideally, I would just have that auto compound on Convex's website, but because it's so expensive on ETH Layer 1, they don't automate that, and I can't really do that. So if I say have $1,000 worth of yield, which is a lot, then I want to take it. I want to capture the yield, and then I want to restake it and essentially compound that. So now I'm getting interest on the initial plus the interest, yada yada, keep rolling it over. But as I stay invested, that auto compounding is basically only available on alternative but EVM compatible chains right now. So like
because of fees.
Yeah, because it's like 20 cents per transaction instead of $20 per transaction or $200 per transaction. And
right. So it's Ethereum's game to lose, right? Like that has to go to layer 2 or it goes to another chain.
That's innovation. That's innovation on layer 2, but it's still those layer 2s, the best, like the developers are still using the same framework that layer 1 uses. So it's like I feel like the moat stays in effect, and like the money ends up still kind of denominating in the underlying in the Ethereum portion. And I don't think it's bearish for Ethereum for Avalanche or Matic or Arbitrum to succeed.
I don't think it's bearish for Ethereum, but it's bearish for all those other chains if ETH does everything they do, easier, better, faster. Like the interoperability on ETH is just so high compared to everything else right now.
In the ETH landscape, but anything EVM compatible qualifies for that. So I do agree with you. The challenge, like for a Solana, is to, like the challenge for Solana would be it's not EVM compatible yet. They're apparently going to have a layer of that, but they now have to essentially incentivize developers. So they're having all these hackathons and incentive programs to essentially get developers building ground up applications in Rust, because that's what is going to be compatible with Solana. If they succeed at that, then it could be huge, right? Because then they're kind of, they can make their own arguments for like why it's better or whatever, or create like a new ecosystem similar to EVM, but not EVM, that is like very Solana centric. So like that's potentially both a threat and a weakness depending on who wins, if you will. Or it could end up being like Apple, like Mac versus Windows or something like that, Yeah,
there's definitely going to be always different strokes for different folks. I get that, but I
don't think it's like a net. What do you call that?
I wouldn't see everything succeeding together now as a fundamental force rather than just a price wealth effect technical force. That's my argument.
Yeah,
like this stuff is all right place, right time. Right?
Yeah,
like it existed.
The money just flows everywhere.
Right.
I get that, and I agree with that, and I do think that you find out more about fundamentals in the bear markets and like what holds up better and all that. What's interesting is almost all of these have enough money to essentially develop forever. So like losing would take a very, very long time and really only be evident via users never showing up, right? But they can build empty cathedrals till kingdom come, most of them, because they have billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah. And the other issue is, how did we go from like Satoshi and decentralization to CZ, Vitalik, Sam, like these centralized figureheads? Like that, how do more people not have an issue with that? Maybe it's like the OG guys who have an issue with that, but like people are like Sam coins are the best. Great. Like again, I like Sam, FTX, cool, whatever. But I think eventually that's going to come around to bite the coins themselves more than anything. But we'll see. I don't know.
I do think the centralization is a problem across many. It's different depending on which ones, right? So like BSC centralization is very problematic in my opinion. It's just very few people in charge. They have lots of relationships to Binance, and it's not even that much more scalable than ETH layer 1. So like I wouldn't put all my money on BSC. Scalability on Solana or Avalanche I think are a little better because they're more like node driven. So there's a lot of independent nodes that run together and do their thing, and it's from a governance perspective, there may be figureheads like Emin, whatever his name is at Avalanche, or Solana, the Solana founders. They may have too large of a voice, but like from a network security perspective, I'm not very worried. Like I think I would put all my money on either one and not feel too worried about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So those are two different things, right? Like I might be worried about the centralization in a governance sense, and we can move this over to Uniswap. Like Uniswap.
I just look at all this stuff. It's so incestuous. It's the same VCs. It's the same people at the top. It's the same Barry Silberts, right? It's the same Charles Hoskinsons. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And it's just like, okay, enough's enough. Like this is not what we signed up for, most of us anyway, when we got into this thing. Like Doge is a great example. Like Elon Musk, right? Like it's just like it's just not. I don't know. I can make money trading this stuff, great, but I'm not going to feel like it's the future if that's where we're headed.
So, what do you want to see in the future of blockchain technology?
Decentralization, figureheads who are meaningless, no person in charge.
Do you think?
Fluffy. Go
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, isn't Fluffy Pony still in jail technically?
Yeah, which is obscene.
Which is messed up. It's just the single point of failure thing, and people relying on one person to do everything. I don't know. I don't know what I want. I can trade it, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be happy about it.
Do you think there's a smart contract platform anywhere that's fulfilling any of that from a decentralization perspective?
I think ETH is trying to get there, but again, with ETH, all of these smart contracts have a person at the head of them, like Andre or the Uniswap guy. I forget his name.
Hayden.
And they'll go and they'll pump projects, inadvertently or on purpose, whatever. Just like 3AC does. It's the same. It's just the same thing. Different person, different flavor, different coin. I don't know. This discussion's gotten very dark and sad and depressing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's worthwhile to keep your head on straight, right? Like know what you're here for and know what you're accomplishing, right? So like my goal number one is to have like financial freedom out of crypto. My goal number two is to support self-custody is a big part of what I think I support. Like I think centralization or decentralization is important, definitely. The decentralization as a process thing, I think is worthy to be skeptical of. Like, does it truly happen well over time or not? But like, it depends on what your goal is. I think that there are benefits to blockchain relative stuff, like decentralized finance is better than what we are given as customers of traditional banking. So like if that's all I win, then that's fine. I agree. I would rather win more, right? Like for the user, right. Or for decentralization or for self-custody or self-sovereignty or whatever you want to call it. So like it's far from perfect. And I don't like I don't love the fact that like some VC gets something for like 5 cents and then it's trading at $500 a year later. And like, that's where it lists on Coinbase for the average Joe. I wish there was a lot more like fair launch type stuff. Totally agree. I can agree with all of that. And then also be like very excited about what is going on because there's still a ton of opportunity for average people and like for someone to turn their $1,000 into $100,000 or something over the course of a year. I think that's uniquely enabled by the crypto ecosystem, and yes, the speculation going on in it. But that's what we do. We are speculators.
Yeah.
So I don't want to just ignore it because it's like it doesn't 100% align with my like what I would like to see in terms of the evolution of crypto. Because thing number one is secure the bag for myself, my family, etc. Thing number two is try to have a good impact while you're here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just as long as people have like a true north and realize not to like get all the dirty stuff on them and, you know, make it a tattoo instead of just washing it away.
Cuban said in the chat, come for the money, stay for the revolution. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't we leave our theoreticals behind?
Well, one last thing, when we're talking about this, might as well talk about Uni and the DeFi regulations. I think that's going to be a massive issue for DeFi. It's problematic for US based DeFi anything. They're going to come after them saying they're not a licensed exchange. They're not doing KYC. They're going to pay a fine. They're going to try to implement this stuff, I guess. Like, I don't know. What's your opinion on what the end game is here?
I think that they said that they're investigating, but like they're not filing charges or doing anything. I think the entities that matter probably are learning a lot by going after Ripple and realizing that Ripple has like infinite bandwidth to fight them. And you know who has even more infinite bandwidth to fight the SEC is Uniswap. Like they have billions of dollars. Like it's not even reflected in the price, the news, like they're under investigation. Like everybody saw this coming. There was news of subpoenas moving around to all the like DeFi entities, American DeFi entities, to close to the bottom, and the market kind of shrugged it off. And today it's acting like it's just nothing. So until they come in and say like, hey, this is illegal, you are arrested, or like we are charging people with something, that kind of thing, like I just think it's a nothing burger until then. I think there's going to be a long investigative process to figure out what's what, maybe create some parameters for new regulations, rule sets for American entities to do. So like we'll start, I could imagine like see geofencing and logged in accounts and like some of that type of stuff start to occur for how American based DEXs are supposed to perform. And it's going to be interesting, but like, I think the US is probably screwing itself with some of this to say like, we're investigating it, not we're working with these people to figure out how to like encourage new technology while also following American laws, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think it's going to mess up things. It's going to shake up things big time. When it happens, you know, whatever they do, I think it's going to have effects across the ecosystem.
The thing,
geofencing is definitely going to happen. Serum already has that, right? And DYDX certainly does.
Yeah, the ones that are like providing products that already aren't allowed when they're centralized. So if it's like a derivatives product, then they're just, you know, not allowing it in a decentralized manner either. So they have geofencing and stuff for that type of stuff. But like regular swapping is not geofenced, you know?
Yeah.
And we could get to a point where that's something that they require. I don't know. The market's shrugging it off right now.
Do you think people will rotate out of Uni TVL or Uni AMM DEX stuff into Sushi or the others?
Yeah, I think it's similar to like what happened when Poloniex did KYC and everybody went to Binance or whatever, you know? I think we'll see similar. Like people will go to where they can still do the same thing with liquidity and without the same checks, right? If you don't have to submit your driver's license to trade on Uniswap, then you won't want to do that.
Well, to me, OpenSea is the next ripe fruit for picking if you're Gary Gensler at the SEC or whatever.
I think it depends how you look at it. Like, are there securities being traded on OpenSea or are there collectibles, and what matters? I don't know. But yeah, long road ahead in terms of regulation. If you're a lawyer getting into crypto, you're going to be busy for the next 20 years. So like it'd be a great place to have a career as a lawyer.
Yeah, definitely. Things are going to get very messy. Just when you see a lot of money changing hands, the billions in volume on OpenSea, that people take notice of that for sure. Regulators, especially.
Yeah. So Ski Bum asked, why do people actually care about KYC? And I think he means users. Yeah, he does. So the reason people care about it, and I think Maddie from what's that podcast called? The Tales from the Crypt. Those guys have really good insights on like how KYC tends to be more damaging to users than what it's supposedly trying to protect from. So like a lot of things where somebody has an inherent permission or information that they're given and then they're not good stewards of that information, or it's like something gets hacked and then like your identity is out there in the world because you forced them to take your information. And it's just not very good for like the person that values their privacy and their personal sovereignty or those types of things. Now, I've submitted KYC documents to pretty much every American exchange there is because I just want access to products, right? I want access to all the trading products I can get access to. And I just assume all my information is out there in front of the bad guys. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to cause volumes to go down, but that's just like a natural effect. I agree. It's probably more harmful than anything, but it allows people to get away with silly things like money laundering and stuff like that. It exists for a reason, but doesn't mean it's going to be good for crypto if it's implemented. Yeah. Certainly.
So why don't we start with just pure technicals? We can go to Bitcoin and then Ethereum and then ETH BTC. Bitcoin's $50,000 today, right on the underside of all-time high consolidation before it broke down. What do you think? Do you think all-time highs are inevitable here? It's above the 200-day moving average. I'm sure from a cloud perspective, it's starting to break out as well, if I had to guess. Bitcoin looks pretty good to me. It doesn't mean it can't go. It could go back to 38 and still look good, right? But it just makes all these very attractive dip buys now, in my mind. But it could just shoot straight to all-time highs. Seems like every time I want consolidation, I don't get it. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard to be bearish when, even though alt's moving is generally bearish, I think it's fine if there's rotations and they're not like, Doge isn't collapsing, for example, even though it's down. AVAX was down, but it's not collapsing. Solana's down. It's at all-time highs again, but there's definitely rotations going on and catch-up trades going on.
Bullish rotations, yeah.
Bullish, yeah. So ETH moved after everything else, and then BTC is moving after ETH. So rising tide raises all boats, definitely. I would like to see more volume on BTC. Trend looks fine. Daily Cloud says, this thing that is way above the averages on the daily, but on the 12-hour, even 44. I still think dips are for buying, highs are for adding. Just everything's just so bullish right now.
Just keep buying.
And it's not even, yeah, exactly. It's not even bullish to me in like a euphoric way. It's just like, just the slow inevitability of bullishness.
Yeah. CMS Holdings was saying yesterday that funding's gotten pretty intense. So it could be one of those things where, dips for a bit, consolidates, whatever, get some people bearish, whatever that takes. I don't know.
I mean, Bitcoin was so bullish in a sideways manner that it couldn't even break down from a rising wedge. Like this should have broken down, but it didn't. Like nobody cared to sell it, apparently.
Yeah.
Game on.
It's two things, right? People don't care to sell it; they're already holding it, and people that aren't holding it see it showing potential that it might go heavier, and they essentially roll back to majors, right? So like as that rotation happens, you have this wealth effect where new money comes in, and maybe that new money is going to NFTs or other chains, and then slowly those profits roll back into ETH or BTC or whatever, and it's like this force buyer effect on the most impactful portion of the market, which is you need BTC to not collapse so that other markets don't collapse. But if it looks like it's about to break up, people start to rotate back to it, and it's self-reinforcing.
Yeah, I think we saw that with NFTs and ETH too. ETH started to move up and NFTs started dropping, which is
the JPEGs were not a store value.
No, it was super funny. People were like, "Oh, this isn't a new paradigm. What do you mean?" I thought this was going to go up forever. That's why it feels to me like people are pricing NFTs in USD more than anything. But if ETH is appreciating, the NFT price is also appreciating. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the prices seem even more absurd, right? Like you say, okay, well, this is sold for 10 ETH in 2018, and it's like, okay, look at that. In 2018, ETH was $200. You know, so now somebody's trying to sell it not for 10 ETH, but for say 100 ETH, and ETH has gone from $200 to $4,000. Well, that's a big difference in price on an NFT, and you're seeing a lot of that. So
yeah, crazy. The amount of money being just changing hands on NFTs is just absolutely nuts in notional value, right?
Yeah,
like
in dollar amount. Yeah.
In ETH value,
I try not to look at them.
ETH value, not that much, but notional, oh Jesus. And as far as like Q4 highs, end of the year highs, I like 109 for BTC, 110, whatever. This will move up slowly. This is the 2-year MA in the bottom, and then 5 times that on the top.
Yeah, if we break all-time highs, we're just going to run fibs, right? Like that's the layman's way to do this. So why don't we draw some?
So that's 110 on that. On fibs, it's 86, and then whatever the 2618 is. I think Solana's at like the 4618. 120 is the 2618.
Solana's at the 4618 now?
I'll double check it, but
oh man, that would be scary.
All right, it's just past the 2618. But it depends how you measure this. I always take the most recent all-time high and local low, but
yeah, that's basically what I like to do as well. I want to look at them for BTC though. The 4618 is always the most fun thing for me to analyze, because that's in these crypto markets that obviously get pretty ripe. It seems like almost always like where these things rush to. Like the Aave $500 high was a 4618. So in Bitcoin, if you go from the high at 64.8 to the low at 29 or whatever it went to, interesting. Right back at the 0.618 right this moment. I love that, man. ETH just did that as well. And then the first target I always go for is the 1.618, which would be $87,000 for Bitcoin. And then the 4618 is 193,000. If we make new all-time highs this year, I think that like literally anything in that is the potential target. Ethereum, I've had this up for quite a while because I was essentially looking for the same thing. It consolidated under its 0.618, just like Bitcoin's doing right now. When it broke out, just rushed up in a few candles. I think Ethereum's probably going to make new all-time highs before it consolidates more, but I could be wrong. Its 1.618 is 6K. If you recall, Josh, you and I went and visited our friends at the Rect podcast at December 31st. My targets for Bitcoin and ETH for the year were 66 and 6K. So if this stops here on the year and Bitcoin does not make new all-time highs, then I would actually end up right on my annual prediction, even though I didn't understand what that path would be. I actually find it unlikely. I think if ETH makes new all-time highs, Bitcoin would find a way to make new all-time highs this year as well. But if we go slow, that's possible. Like I could imagine if we go slow for the rest of for this next quarter, then it would be possible for Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin. Bitcoin managed not to make new all-time highs while ETH does. What do you think?
I don't see Q4 being not extremely bullish for everything.
Just blow off tops on everything and trap everybody on taxes next year. Seems perfect.
Yeah, Q4 is going to be bullish. Q1 is going to be devastating for taxes reasons, for DeFi, KYC, whatever regulatory reasons. Probably coming.
I legit think Q1 is going to be devastating.
Yeah.
I am planning to exit all crypto markets between November and January 30th is kind of the frame I'll give. But I will be protecting myself considerably before December or before January 1st.
I think whatever you do, whoever you are, have a strategy, write it down, have some reasoning, some rationale. That way, when your portfolio is at an all-time high on December 15th, you're able to actually take action and preserve some of that. So anyway, yeah, so Q4 is usually extremely bullish. ETH has never outperformed BTC in Q4. So will this be the quarter? I don't know. Also, September is usually a garbage month. So it's interesting that we're doing so well in September so far.
Yeah, I saw somebody say September is for stables. And I was like, oof, please, sir.
So I've seen the September data for BTC. I haven't seen it for alts. That'd be something to look into, but I haven't seen it.
I remember it pretty clearly for 2017 because I was like just getting into crypto Twitter and like really exploring down the rabbit hole of understanding alt and BTC rotations, having gotten in crypto in April or May. By September, I was like starting to learn, and BTC dominance went up a lot in the kind of September to November timeframe, both in 2017 and for what it's worth in 2020. So I do think maybe we're seeing some euphoria on like Solana, for example, and maybe we
really Solana euphoria? Nah, come on.
Maybe we rotate a bit.
Oh, the chart is hilarious.
I think when you think of it like this, it's kind of crazy. So someone who just bought, let's say at that $3 level, although like people had lots of time to buy Solana at under $2, under $1. Some of these VCs, their cost basis is literally pennies. So every time Solana goes up, let's say $3, some of these people are making multiples of their original investment. So like any average daily now, a 3% move is providing them multiples on their initial investment. So when you consider it in that format, yes, it could be potentially some euphoria.
Like, yeah, I mean this thing on the BTC pair is just like incredible.
I like to think I did pretty well this year so far, except for I would have done much better just buying Solana and never touching it, right?
Yeah. That's why the throwing darts on a board approach is reasonable in crypto, because you just don't know, right? The losers will usually never outweigh the winners because the winners are just so 500%, 10,000%.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So yeah, Solana still looks good to me. Do I think it's probably a good idea to rotate out of it if you're in it? Yeah, I do. But this thing could definitely keep going on the USD pair anyway. I don't know about the BTC pair, but the USD pair looks like it wants whatever the 618s are, or whatever the MA multiplier is.
So it's not quite to the 4.618. That would be $189, depending on where you
that matches the half year MA multiplier.
If you go to the exact wick, the high to the capitulation low in May, the 4.618 is 200 even. That's the target. Here, clip this.
Look at that volume on FTX too.
Solana is going to $200, and at $200, you should sell everything you own. There.
It's just the other thing people I think don't realize, it's a probability game. Like, what are the odds this thing can have another 2x versus something else having a 2x before it, right? What are the odds that volume keeps increasing? What are the odds that momentum on RSI keeps increasing? You're already seeing a massive bear div form here on RSI.
Yeah, I mean, I would have said, and by the way, going to 200, that does not necessarily mean the relative trade's not already done, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I talked about how I thought Solana was bottoming back here on May 11th. It consolidated, but I didn't buy the breakout or anything with size. I have had some Solana exposure. We'll talk about that another day. I think the relative trade could have already topped while it also goes to 200. So Solana 200 ETH 6K could occur. That would be basically very little change on the relative pair, as an example. So that's my
Solana 200 ETH 6K. Yes, I could see that.
Just a thought.
Yeah. What's the Sol ETH chart even look like?
That's what I've got on screen right now.
Oh, my bad. I had it covered up.
Yeah, I don't think it's like I look at ETH BTC have for all year, and I'm bullish ETH BTC. So if I'm looking at something else, I want to know like what's coin versus ETH, because if I can stack ETH, I'm bullish ETH versus BTC. I'm bullish BTC versus the dollar, so I'm like triple leveraging on spot.
I mean, look at this nonsense, right? This is LTC BTC. This is a beautiful inverted head and shoulders breaking out today. You know.
Yeah, but I'm not. There's no chance I'm touching Litecoin.
Hey, look, man, we're on a deserted island. Remember?
I'm just not doing it.
I get it. I hear you, but damn, that looks good.
It does.
You know?
I will give you affirmation. It looks good. I'm not buying it. You could also talk about like Tezos has had a bit of a run here, and it might have bottomed relative to Ethereum. It had like one turbo candle relative to Ethereum on the weekly. So maybe Tezos is just a perfect retest here. But like, do I want to own Tezos? Not really. It recaptured important levels. Maybe it'll go into price expiration. I don't know. Versus BTC, it looks like it's breaking out of a long-term accumulation range, like on the weekly.
See, you're putting on a fundamental hat. It's funny how you and I put on fundamental hats in very different ways. Like I would never want to own Tezos over ETH. I 100% agree with you. But if there's a multi-month, multi-year bull div on this, yeah, why not, right? Like you don't need much more technical evidence than that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I just don't. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I can understand that.
We've had that conversation today.
we have in multiple different forms. We definitely have. But I think it's hard. I think the bottom line is it's hard not to make money right now. You just got to be smart. If you want to like min max it, you got to be smart about rotations and not let the euphoria get the best of you.
Yeah. Trying to figure out the proper rotations to make is the challenge. And then honestly, the other I would say is not like completely freaking out when something retraces. People were doing that. We can talk about Avalanche a little bit. That's where I've been while you were gone. I did an episode called Aping Avalanche that marked the local top. But I had already drawn this yellow line here as like, this looks like a turbo buy, and it didn't even get to it, right? Like it bounced off the 20-day moving average, and it looks strong. Like it still looks really strong. It looks like it's about to do price expiration and go to 100 or something. For some reason, I can't find the relative pair at the moment. I can try to do it over here. AVAX versus ETH.
Yep. Like if we're having the rotation discussion, none of these look terrible, but they're up such a significant amount. Again, the question is, do you think this can have a 3x before Ripple can have a 3x?
Yes.
Stellar can have a 3x?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. LTC can have a 3x?
Maybe not LTC, but Ripple, yes. Like Ripple, a 3x from Ripple puts it like Brad Garlic Bread's the richest person in the world again or something. I don't know, man. All these crypto people are billionaires now. It's like billionaires, not even special if you're like the owner of a protocol, right? Or like the founder of a protocol.
Like, have you seen the Ripple chart lately? It looks crazy good.
It does look crazy good. What's that dollar amount? What's that?
On the red area?
No, like where it's at right now. Okay, $1.30.
130.
Yeah. So Ripple could go back to $3, which was the 2017 high. It'd be more than a double. Price expiration and Ripple's market cap is obscene.
So one of the questions on the Twitter thread that I asked that I was getting was like how to rotate, when to rotate. What are your opinions on that? And one thing you could always do is keep your initial notional value. Let's say you entered Solana, whatever, I don't know. Keep some amount partial a small percentage, whatever you want to do, and then rotate the profits elsewhere, right? That's always an option for people. People just assume you have to sell everything and rotate it. Like, you don't have to do that.
You can always do partials, but it's mentally sometimes a little more difficult to do that. All right, so a double in XRP would take it to about 120 billion, which would put it at number 3 overall again. Flipping Ethereum would require like a 9x or so. So $10 XRP, anybody?
I don't know about $10 XRP, but it just feels to me like if we're on like the absolute bottom tier of intelligence timeline, then no matter what happens with the SEC, this thing's going to moon in some fashion, I think, right? Like, why not, right? I don't want it to happen. I think Ripple's actually worthless and garbage, but
yeah, I think I would personally just look for other coins that could do similar, but there is a chance that XRP manages to outperform, but it's not the one I want to play. Super Chimp Sol better than XRP in my mind, absolutely, not even close. Like,
yeah, all these chains are better than XRP and ADA and this nonsense.
XRP
right?
is like the lowest of the low. Like, I make fun of Cardano a good bit. I'd rather own Cardano than XRP. Like, XRP I find completely useless. It's worth 0. They should also lose their security lawsuit in my mind. Like, XRP is the trashiest trash of all trash. And the only step above I give it would be like Bitcoin and SV, right? Like Craig Wright, Satoshi fraud. It's the only thing I would put above it or below it. But it could, like, people used to love XRP. It just, I'm not going to guess on what's going to happen with it. That said, I'll still play something else. Like, there's always, if XRP is bullish, there's other stuff that's bullish too, and I'll play other stuff. That's my personal view.
Well, let me just give you one scenario of the decision tree. Let's say they win and they get relisted everywhere, right? Is that bullish for Ripple?
Yes.
Well, there you go. I don't want to see it happen either, but anyway, just fun to have a little thought experiment like that, I guess. You can't even buy it right now as a U.S. citizen, so it doesn't even matter. But
do you think Doge is going to $1?
Doge to $1. I said last week on a video I did, Doge actually started to look decent with that W, Adam and Eve, on the BTC pair. But I would be watching this on the 12-hour cloud because the cloud is thin. This thing has gone sideways for a long time. This is potentially a multi-week inverted head and shoulders situation.
Breakout potential.
Yeah, so it's possible. We've seen stupider stuff happen, right? Like, I don't know. GME and AMC look really good to me too on technicals. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. No, but those look good to me.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of one of those things where we've just moved beyond logic. You know, I don't know if I'd say GME looks good, but it doesn't look like it's about to die. It looks like a lot of people are still probably short, and like it just has having a hard time going down, you know?
I guess. I'm just using it as like a proxy for shenanigans, I guess.
Yeah. I think the shenanigans have moved largely to crypto though. Like if you look at like Robinhood volume, like Doge is a massive part of Robinhood's overall success.
Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about a couple places where I think people are sleeping again. One of them is probably DeFi stuff. Will it outperform Ethereum? I don't know. It has recaptured important levels to me. Like I look at Sushi on the 200-day moving average. I think Sushi's going to all-time highs in price exploration. The Uniswap news is probably bullish for Sushi. And this is just kind of a proxy for some other DeFi stuff to me. Poor old Compound, just...
Dude, I'm still holding that.
I capitulated it to when I aped AVAX stuff. Like
Edward Scissorhands over here cutting every position.
Yeah, man.
When it doesn't go his way.
I have no faith in anything. Like, I will rotate ruthlessly. I kept it.
I mean, you probably made like 1,000x on NFTs with that money anyway, so it's fine. But
Aave also kind of reconsolidating in its prior distribution range. I always consider that bullish personally. Even though like the daily Aave USD chart just looks like a random walk since February, I think all of these are setting up for essentially a massive blast off after ETH makes its move, right? So like my timetable would be, if ETH goes to all-time highs, I think ETH goes to 6K. If ETH goes to 6K, then I think DeFi blows up. That's the rotation for me. Like end of year, best case scenario is you go heavy into like DeFi blue chips and pull 2 or 3x or something at the end of the year, and then you just walk away and retire.
I mean, DeFi perp broke the range high today. It said, what you need news.
Yeah.
You know, this thing looks insanely bullish to me. Insanely bullish. Just, it's back up here like nothing ever happened, you know?
Yeah, but it on the relative trade, like they still have a ways to go to prove themselves. Like I think they could bottom, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're like gonna pump. Like DeFi perp versus USD as an example.
Versus ETH, you mean?
Yeah. So DeFi versus ETH is just.
Yeah, it doesn't look. It doesn't look bad enough to buy. It doesn't look inspiring. You know, maybe inverted head and shoulders eventually, but
yeah, you can buy it over 3.6 or 3.7 and play it 50% or 100% or like 200%. Who knows? Like the range. This is the trade that you could take on this, right? New highs, and let's say it goes crazy, it goes to range highs. That's 100% relative move, and then you sell it on new lows. So 100% up or 20% down if it reaches this level. That's the trade setup that you could make. And I think that's a very logical trade to make. So play it from the breakout, play it to the range highs or wherever you feel like playing it. You've increased your Ethereum by 100% or so after Ethereum's broken 6K. So it's as if you've now traded to Ethereum 12K, and that's quite nice.
It's probably the smartest thing you've said all podcast.
All right. Let's leave our analysis there then. What else do you have?
I don't know. After that, how can you follow that? You know?
Sure.
I agree with that 10,000%. Yeah, it's also the 4618 from this, but 6.3 is. Yeah, it looks good. If it can get past 3.7, if it's in that 100%.
Cool. Well, that's our roadmap for the rest of the year. Let's see how it plays out. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We will talk to you next week. Go to ledgerstatus.com/matcha. Make your first swap there today. If you're going to trade ETH and DeFi and all that stuff, this is the best place to do it. Do it at ledgerstatus.com/matcha. Bye. Post show.
Easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can barely